What's up, ASLS 515 folks? So I've got to tell you that this is like my 10th start on this. I've done so many things wrong, including forgetting to hit the record button. So we're just going to go with this one. We're going to, as long as the recording button's going, we should be good. All right, so welcome back to part 2. This is database searching. So today we're going to talk about the most useful databases to you guys, some example searches, a couple of specialized databases, and understanding what gray literature and the easiest way to search for gray literature. So let's go ahead and do this. For me, this is the 10th time, so it'll be good, I promise. All right, so here we are at the university homepage. So I'm going to once again hover over academics, hit library, go to research guides, go to health sciences, and audiology and speech language sciences. You already know everything about the first page, so we're going to go to journal articles by topic. Now what I've got here are my best recommendations for audiology and speech language sciences people from undergraduate to graduate. So today what I want to focus on is PubMed and Web of Science, which are two of the more complicated databases. But you always want to take your topic and determine from your topic what database you're going to go to. So is it a medical topic? Then go to PubMed. Is it really more about why people do what they do or psychological things? Then you're going to go to PsycInfo. Is it more interdisciplinary but still on a speech topic, speech therapy, or hearing topic? Then Linguistics and Language Behavior Abstracts is a place to go. Is it really a source of a question about the education of somebody who is hearing impaired or has a speech therapy issue? Or you're looking at different speech therapy possibilities. Education source might be there. So these are my top databases, but if you scroll down just a little bit further, you're going to find more medical databases, interdisciplinary databases, psych databases, and so on. So yes, Education Source is the best database we have for education, but these are also good. Now, the second database we're going to look at is Web of Science. It's down here under interdisciplinary. So it's narrow in that it covers only a certain number of journals because it looks at what it thinks are the very best journals and then indexes everything out of those journals. So this is more interdisciplinary, but it's a really good database. So we're going to look at PubMed in this database. So let's get started. All right, so here we are at PubMed. It is a free database. Anyone in the world can use this, whether they're a university student or not. So you will always have access to this database. Because it's free, you don't need to sign in to use it. But I'm going to have you sign in anyway, because when you find that perfect article, to get to the full text article through the UNC system, you're going to want to be signed in. So up in the upper right-hand corner, sign in to NCBI. There is one general username and password for everybody at UNC. So Clawz, K-L-A-W-Z, is your username, and library, L-I-B-R-A-R-Y, all lowercase, is the password. So we'll go ahead and sign in, and you'll notice now in the upper right-hand corner it says Clawz. So that's just what you need to do to sign into this database. Should you ever want to set up your own account, I can help you do that because there's a couple tricks to making sure it links into the UNC full text. All right, so I'm just going to start with a search of swallowing disorders and speech therapy and see what we get. All right, so we get 1,255 matching results. That's a little bit much, but over on our left-hand side, we've got some ways we can limit it. We also have a couple of ways we can limit it over here. Notice that of our 1,255, only 1,126 are in English. Let me scroll down. So number 18 here is not in English, and I can tell that right away because it has square brackets around it. It's in Portuguese. However, PubMed will translate all of the article titles and all of the abstracts, and it is possible to cite just an abstract if you're unable to read the article. So I tend to leave these in my search. I don't tend to get rid of them, but that is completely up to you. All right, scrolling back to the top, what are some other ways we can limit? We can also limit to ages. Age groups tend to be pretty useful. So maybe we're looking at swallowing disorders and speech therapy in people older. So maybe I'm looking specifically at 80 and over. So I just want to see research that looks at people 80 and over. And that gets me down to 170. So that calls out a bunch of stuff that I don't even want to look at. You might want to look at publication date. Article types can be useful too, especially if you're looking for something like a systematic review or meta-analysis. Both of those types of articles are possible to look at in this database and limit to. So, all right, so maybe I'm interested in number 3. So I'm going to click on that. So it gives me the abstract. So if this is enough information, then I want this. If I were to click on here, and maybe since you are members of ASHA, you would have access to this, I would not. So if I clicked on here, it would probably ask me to pay for it. A lot of articles are in a $30 to $60 range. Sometimes they're a lot more. We do not want you to pay for articles. So that's why you're signed in. So we're going to click on Northern Colorado full text. It's thinking, it's thinking. If it ever stalls out on this white page, go to the missing article and click there, and that'll give you other options. All right, so here's my article, my PDF. I can download this and go on with life. So I've got what I need from here. So I'm going to close that out. Let's back up. All right, let's try one more. So if this one looked good, number 14, again, that Northern Colorado full text link to match up. And here's my PDF. If something ever goes wrong in this system and you never get to the article and it looks like this one's not getting me there, let's try that again. Oh, maybe it's because I didn't accept the cookies. There we go. If something goes wrong and you just can't get to the article, that is not your fault. That means something's wrong in our system. So you're going to click over here, copy all the citation information, go back to the library guide, find my contact information, and send me an email. So let's say can't find this, and send away, and I will start working on it. All right, so back here we've got our article, so we would print that, we would download it, whatever we're going to do with it. Maybe you even read it online. That's not a particular favorite of mine. All right, I'm going to go back to the home page of PubMed by clicking on this. Now, sometimes medical terminology is not something that I know really well. So sometimes I go to the MESH database, which is the medical subject heading database, to search for what I'm looking for, to make sure I'm using the right language. So for instance, if I put SIDS in here, it's going to tell me to search for sudden infant death. Now, that's not exactly shocking. You guys would have come up with that. But it was also called cot death, crib death, sudden infant death. Sometimes the syndrome's there, sometimes it's not. So what is this doing for you? It's saying this is all one phenomena, but sometimes authors call it by different terms. So when an article comes into the database about this idea, it gets tagged with this tag. And if you can figure out this tag, you will get all the articles on this idea no matter what wording the author used. And I still do see authors using crib death. So this is just a tagging system to make sure you're getting all the articles on a topic. So I'm going to look up swallowing disorders, make sure I'm using the right language there. And in fact, it wants me to use something called deglutition disorders. And if I scroll down, they have one tag that includes swallowing disorders, deglutition disorders, dysphagia, esophageal dysphagia, and so on. So I'm going to add this to my search builder and search PubMed. Now, when I'm doing searches like this that are a little bit more complicated, I go ahead and do one idea at a time. So we've got the deglutition disorders. going to go back to the PubMed homepage, back to the MeSH database, and I'm going to look up speech therapy. And no surprise, that's the right wording. Add it to my search builder, search PubMed. So I've got two separate searches now. I want to add those two searches together, so I'm going to go to the advanced search. Click add for speech therapy in people 80 and over, and add deglutition disorders and search. So it's keeping all of those limiters that I may have put on. And I get down to 20 results. So this is a way to really narrow and focus my search. Only 18 of these are in English, but again, I'm just going to leave this. This one in Portuguese may be interesting enough that I want to cite the abstract. All right, so that's PubMed. Let me know if you're having any problems or have any questions. Back to journal articles by topic. I also wanted to show you Web of Science because it's kind of a different interface. And we're waiting. All right, so notice it gives you kind of an example here that's very faint. So it tells you how we're going to do this. So we're going to do swallowing disorders, speech therapy, and search. All right, now it gets me 211 articles. But as we learned before, it's not always called swallowing disorders. And if I'm trying to do a comprehensive search and get absolutely everything, I'm going to go ahead and change this to deglutition, search. And just like we did with PubMed, I'm going to go back to the main page. This time I'm going to go to advanced search. And notice it keeps a running history, so 211 when I'm using this wording, 57 when I use this wording, search 1 and search 2. So I want to save, or sorry, not save, but add those searches together. So number 1 or 2. And that's 222. Now that's not a huge amount more, but again, if you're trying to get a comprehensive look, you want to find all possible articles. This is a nice page, that history, search history is a nice page to print out if you're trying to keep track of what you are looking for. So if you can only do so much today and you need to come back tomorrow and finish your search, go ahead and print that out so you've got it. And your committee may also want you, your advisor or professor may also want to see it. All right, so I'm going to check for full text on number 4, maybe. And it's thinking. This one was in PubMed evidently, so look for that PDF link, and here's my article. All right, one other thing about Web of Science that I want you to take note of. I'm going to go back to a little bit of older articles in this list. So when you are in an article, let's see if we've got this one full text. Oh my goodness, it's slow today. So here's our download PDF. Okay. I don't know if it just did something or not. All right, anyway, when you are in an article, so here's the full text of this article. You can always look at the references. So who did they refer to? And see if there are other really good articles you need. But sometimes you need to move forward. So depending on when this article was published, so this was published in 2003, everything they cited is going to be older. And sometimes you want to be able to look at newer stuff that cited this article. That's specifically why Web of Science was set up. So if we go over here, this article has been cited 18 times by other journals that this database indexes, and I can see newer citations. So they'll probably be on the same topic, and we can see, okay, swallowing and aspiration, swallowing function, and so on. So then I can look and see if there are any of these articles that I want. Now, remember I said Web of Science is narrow because they only look at a certain number of journals that they think are really, really the best. You also always have the option of doing that cited by search, which is considered citation tracing by taking and copying the title of the article. I'm going to open up a new window and go to scholar.google.com, paste in the title and search. So here's my article. It's been cited 23 times. So it found more citations this way because I think it only found 18 through Web of Science. So then I can look through some additional possible articles that are simply not indexed in Web of Science. All right, so those were the two databases I really wanted to show you. If you can search databases like PubMed and Web of Science, you're going to have no problems in LLBA or PsycInfo or Education Source or the other databases on this list because they're simpler databases to kind of navigate. But everything changes, so if something's giving you a hiccup or giving you a problem or you're just not seeing where you're supposed to click, that's always a time when you can call me. All right, so the two specialized databases I wanted to show you. UpToDate. UpToDate is considered an at the point of care database. So it's really meant for people who are working in healthcare settings if they need to look up some quick information. So the main things that this database is meant to be for is to search for medical conditions, diseases, that type of thing. So we could look up otitis media and say we're really interested in the diagnostic tools for acute otitis media in children. The left-hand side is my table of contents. Right-hand side is the actual article. This is not a research article. This is an evidence-based practice article. So they've taken and gleaned what they could from the research and then put everything that they found here. So for most medical conditions, you'll find things like epidemiology, etiology, clinical manifestations, diagnostic tools, best treatments or most common treatments or most accepted treatments, and more information like that. The other thing I really like this database for is looking up drugs. So this is the best drug source we have. That sounds bad, but oh well, at UNC for you guys to use. So if I have somebody come into my office who is using this, let's pretend that I'm a speech therapist, and I've just learned that it's a pediatric patient who's been prescribed this for their stutter. So I can come in here and look up all the information about this drug. Notice in the table of contents, we've got brand names, we've got dosing for pediatrics, administration, contraindications, adverse reactions, and so on. I can even go into looking up pricing. So this is a great database for drug information. All right, moving on along because this is getting to be a really long video anyway. So what did we want to talk about next? We wanted to talk about gray literature. So what is gray literature? Gray literature basically gray literature is basically anything that is not published through a traditional publishing house. Like books are traditional, journals go through traditional publishing houses most often, magazines and newspapers. So if you think about the information sources that you come into contact with on a day-to-day basis, most of them are gray literature. So a radio program that you're listening to in the morning, maybe you interview an expert about what they do. That's gray literature. Maybe you're sitting in a clinic and you find a pamphlet and it has really great information in it. That is gray literature. APA allows you to cite anything, absolutely anything. So anything, as far as I'm concerned, has the potential to be an information source that you can use in research. You have to decide on the quality of it, but don't let it stop you if it doesn't come out of a journal or a book or a magazine or something like that. So how is it best to find gray literature? Obviously, the internet is one of the most common places you're going to go looking for that information. So I'm going to start with Google. Google is a database I know fairly well, so this is where I start. I really like that they allow me to do domain searches, and that's one of the best ways to look for gray literature. So probably the biggest producer of gray literature around is the US government. So I can do a site search. So SITE : domain name, in this case it's going to be GOV. So this is going to look at federal level, state level, city level, county level data. And I don't know what to look for, so we're just going to go for hearing loss. And it finds government. So all of these are going to be .govs. So maybe we want some statistics. Let's see what the CDC has to say. That is an awesome picture of a baby. So infants and children. So basics, facts, causes, prevention, treatments, types of hearing loss. So this might be a great source that you could send clients to. All right, so that's just a quick idea about looking for gray literature. You can find gray literature anywhere, but we could do, if we wanted, .orgs. And you can, with this, as look it up within specific sites. So if I look up ASHA, I need the base of their search, which is just .asha.org. So I can do a site.asha.org and look for anything within the ASHA site. So if there was a specific position paper that I was looking for, which this is evidently not the way to look for it. Maybe it's policies that I want. I know they put out policy documents. Maybe they don't put out position papers the way I think of position papers. But anyway, so I think that's all we have to talk about in this video. Get a hold of me if there's any questions I can answer. And as always, keep calm and call your librarian. All right, talk to you later. Bye.